Hey, it's Charlie Ray, and today we are making this case for a Nintendo Switch. All you need is a 4.5 millimeter hook, a crochet needle or yarn needle, a pair of scissors, something to mark your stitches with, like paper clips or stitch markers. You'll also need a number 5 yarn and your needle to get started. So we're just going to start by making a chain. The length of the chain is just going to be however many chains it takes for you to get the long side length of your switch. So you can just place it right next to your switch like I'm doing here in order to get the right length. Once it is actually longer than your switch, then it's long enough. Now we are going to, we are going to stitch into our chain. In the third chain from the hook, you are going to do a single crochet stitch. And then in the next one, you are going to make a double crochet stitch. And you're going to just keep alternating these 2 stitches all the way down the row. So I'll just finish up this row and then I'll meet you guys on the other side. Okay, so once you get to the end of this row, if you ended on a single crochet, then you'll do what I'm going to show you now, which is to chain 1, turn your work, and double crochet into this same stitch. Also, if you ended with a double crochet, you would chain 1, turn, and single crochet into the same stitch. And then you just continue with the pattern alternating your stitches. So on top of every double crochet, a single crochet, and vice versa. Now that we're at the end of this second row, you can start to see how the pattern looks. So in this one, there was a double, so we single crochet and then double crochet in the next one. You are going to make as many rows as it takes to cover the back side of your Nintendo Switch. Okay, so I somehow lost some footage here, guys, but I made a rectangle that fit the back of my Nintendo Switch, and then I made this little corner. So I'll show you how I did that. It was pretty easy. You continue with the pattern, and this stitch I single crochet, but only in the back stitches of the previous row. And when you do that, you get that nice little corner so that you can turn your work. I know that wasn't the best example, but I'm going to turn it again once it is wide enough. So for now, I'm going to just go ahead and do the second row of this by crocheting into both stitches, because I used 2 rows at the bottom of my bag. And here is how that looks once both of those rows are done. But you see what I mean? It gives you a little corner. So now it's somewhat of an L shape. And now I need it to turn again so that I can go back up the other side. But I don't want to just make it a U. I want to connect it to the other side. So this is kind of messy, but this is how I did it. So I just double crocheted right into the side of the back of the project. And then I went ahead and started stitching along the row again. So chain 1, and because I need to turn here, I'm going to be doing the back loops only again. So we're going to go right into this first one. I'm sorry, the second one, the second one. And just keep going with the pattern of single crochet and double crochet all the way to the other side, back loops only. So once you've done that, you'll have 2 of those ridges, and then we can do this next side the same way we did the other one when we double crochet into the side to help secure the sides so your switch won't fall out. So we're not going to do it right in this corner, but a little bit above that, so that it'll be in the same place where the stitch is and it won't be pulling the pattern in either direction. Hopefully that makes sense. On some of them, every other one, actually, I chose to do 2 of these side stitches and then 1 side stitch. So on this time, I'm going to do 2. And then I'm going to continue working my way across the row like normal. So I just continued to do this along each side, working my way up the front side of the switch. And you can check it as you get closer to the top to make sure that it's high enough, but just making it the same height as the back works also. I'm going to show a little bit more of this if it's in case it might be helpful, because it is a little bit weird the way I ended up doing this, but I was making this pattern up as I went along. So at a little less than halfway, I am just checking things out to make sure that the switch is going to fit snugly in the in the case. And it seems fine. So I am just going to keep going with this. And now that I have reached the top, I am going to attach my yarn to the back and make a covering to come over and close up the top. So I attached my yarn at one corner of the back of the bag, and I am just going to single crochet across, holding the end piece so I don't have to weave it in later. And I chose to put 2 single crochets in some of the spaces and 1 in some of the others, and this created a sort of lacy pattern that you can see here. And I just did this for the one row to add a little bit of design to the case. Once you finish that, we are going to complete the flap in single crochet. So you are going to turn your work without making another single crochet, and you are going to skip the first stitch and single crochet into the next one. And we're going to do the same thing on each side as we go along in order to make the flap get smaller and smaller. Okay, so here's what we have. And the next thing we need to do is add a strap. So using the same number 5 weight yarn, we are going, and the, 4.5 millimeter hook, we are going to crochet a very long strap. If you would like, you can sew yours along the whole side of the outside or the inside. However, the way I'm doing mine is to weave it through the holes that I made and attach it only at the bottom. You can check to see how many chains you'll need for the length of your torso so that the bag will sit where you want it to sit. But I used 200 chains in order to make my strap, and it ended up being a little bit too long, so I just tied a knot in the back of it. We are going to make the strap the same way we did the other part. So you're going to go to the third chain and single crochet, and then you're going to double crochet in the next chain, and keep alternating all the way down. Single, double, single, double. Once your chain is done, you can leave some extra yarn on the strap to sew it down. And make sure you pull that through and tighten it up. So let's grab our yarn needles and sew on this strap. So again, you can sew this on all the way along the side, on the outside or the inside, covering up the holes completely, or you can just weave it through. I wove mine in so that it would end with the strap facing inward at the bottom hole. Then you can just flip it inside out and sew the bottom of the strap to the bottom corner of the bag, right between those two corner pieces, so that it will line up with the bottom of the bag. Now we just do the same thing on the other side, but just make sure that your strap does not twist up along the way. Now all we have to do is weave in some of these edges, some of these ends, and this is the way I did the ones on the flap to make sure that they weren't showing. So the next thing we need to do is make a magic ring. So I just do mine like this, where I just make a loop and I just start crocheting directly inside of that loop, and that way I can tighten it up. So you're going to chain 3, and that's going to count as your first double crochet. You're going to put 11 more double crochets into that ring, but don't pull it all the way closed, because we want to leave a small hole in the middle. Then you are just going to slip stitch that closed, and we are going to sew the top half of this to the flap of our bag. So again, you're going to use your yarn needle and take that little circle, put it about halfway down, making sure that there is still space for the hole. And once you've sewn it down, we are going to now use a stitch marker or something to mark your place so you know where to put the closure to put the other part of the closure. All you're gonna do is pull your yarn through and start to make chains like you would at the beginning of a project, and just chain however many stitches you would like. It does need to be long enough to pull through the circle for the closure and wrap around it. So this is what the finished bag looks like, and this is how you open it. And that is it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more crafty and crochet videos, please like or subscribe. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Bye.